All right, so you know how you're super into cybersecurity and smart home stuff? Well, today we're diving into something you'll want to hear about. It's called the US Cyber Trust Mark.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you're already ahead of the game, but for our listeners who haven't, think of it like the Energy Star label you see on appliances.
Except for security.
Right, exactly. It's all about helping people buy gadgets that are actually secure. And the cool thing is, the FCC is rolling this program out right now.
Yeah, it's a really big deal, and it's going to change the way we think about buying wireless IoT devices and appliances.
Totally.
It all starts with recognizing the hidden dangers of all the devices we use every day. Think about it. You've got your smart assistant and your fitness tracker.
My fridge, microwave, thermostat, smart speakers, smart TV, garage opener, lights, and sprinkler system are all online these days.
Exactly. We love convenience, but it comes with risks that many people don't even consider.
I'll admit, sometimes I get so caught up in the excitement of new tech that I forget to think about the security side of things.
It's easy to do. It really is, but we have to face it. Every time we connect to a new device, we potentially open the door to hackers.
Oh, for sure. And I vaguely remember this story, I think it was a couple of years ago, about all these baby monitors getting hacked. That was scary stuff.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one. Imagine a stranger being able to see and hear everything happening in your baby's room. That's the kind of vulnerability we're talking about.
This is super creepy. Okay, this cyber trust mark thing, how's it actually going to help? Is it just another sticker companies put on boxes to make us feel good?
I hear you. There's a lot of marketing fluff out there, but the cyber trust mark is different. Hopefully, that is the promise. It goes way beyond just a sticker. And
Yeah.
each label has a QR code that you can scan with your phone, and that code takes you to a website with detailed information about the device's security features.
Oh, so wait, we're not just talking about some vague claims about being secure. We're talking about actual details, right?
Absolutely. I'd like actual specifics, like how to change a device's default password, whether it gets automatic security updates, and even how long the company will continue to support those updates.
Okay, now that's useful. Especially knowing how long a company supports a device with updates. Because these days, it feels like new gadgets are obsolete after a year or two.
Exactly. We've all heard about manufactured obsolescence. The Cyber Trust Mark is all about being informed and making sure you know what you're getting into. But here's the thing.
What's that?
How can we be sure that companies aren't going to try to cheat the system? Are we just supposed to take their word for it that their device is actually secure?
Ha, yeah, right. Companies have never misled consumers before.
Right. So that's where those independent labs called CyberLABs come in.
Okay.
To earn the Cyber Trust Mark, companies can't just make claims. They have to have their products tested by these labs. The labs rigorously test the devices to ensure they meet the cybersecurity standards the FCC has set.
So it's like a third-party audit to verify their claims. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. It adds a really important layer of accountability.
It really does. But I do have to wonder, will this mean that all the more affordable brands kind of disappear because they just can't meet those standards?
That's a great question, and we'll definitely need to monitor its development as the program rolls out. It's possible we'll see a security premium emerge, right?
Oh, yeah. Like you pay more for the certified devices.
Exactly. So those certified devices will have more testing and the added security features, and well, that's going to cost more.
So we end up with two markets, one secure but expensive, and another cheap but risky. That doesn't sound great for consumers.
I hear you. There is a potential downside we must consider, but there's another way to look at it.
Okay, I'm open to it.
What if the cyber trust mark becomes so widely recognized and trusted by consumers that it actually forces the entire market to level up?
It becomes the gold standard that all companies, even those budget brands, have to strive for.
Exactly. Think about it.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
It all comes down to consumer awareness and demand.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If buyers like you and me make it clear that we really care about security, companies will have no choice but to respond.
Oh, that's such a good point. And that actually leads me to my next question. Let's say I'm out shopping and need to choose between two smart speakers. They have similar features and are in the same price range, but one has the Cyber Trust mark and the other doesn't. How would this program help me make a decision?
Well, you scan the QR code. Then you can compare the security details and make an informed decision. Maybe one company offers longer support with security updates. Maybe one has clearer instructions on how to set up strong passwords. It's about having the knowledge you need to make the best choice for your situation.
So it's not about making everyone a cybersecurity expert. It's about giving people the information they need to make an educated decision.
Exactly. It simplifies things. It takes all the complex technical stuff and puts it in a way that anyone can understand. It's like translating geek speak into plain English.
Yes, less jargon and more actionable insights.
Exactly.
But what about people like us who are already pretty tech savvy? Is there anything new or valuable in this program for people like us?
Absolutely. Even if you're already knowledgeable about cybersecurity, you can use the Cyber Trust mark to compare the specific security features that different brands offer.
I see.
You can really see which ones are going above and beyond.
So it's not just about meeting a basic standard, it's about pushing for even better security.
Right, by choosing products with the Cyber Trust mark, you're not just protecting yourself, you're also sending a signal to the whole industry that security matters.
Love it.
It's a win-win.
It is. Okay, but what kinds of devices are we actually talking about here? Is this just like smart speakers and cameras, or is it more than that?
Oh, no, it's way more than that.
Okay, good. Lay it on me. What kind of devices are we talking about?
Well, you're in luck because they're focusing on a lot of devices that you already said you're interested in.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so what, like smart home devices?
Yep, smart speakers, security cameras, thermostats, appliances, refrigerators and ovens. It's all the other shit.
Wait a minute. My oven needs cybersecurity now.
You laugh, but in a world where everything's getting connected, it's not as crazy as it sounds.
I guess you're right. They are after my data in my oven, too.
Maybe. But seriously, any device that connects to the internet can be an entry point for hackers. So added protection is necessary.
Okay, point taken. So we've got kitchen appliances plotting against us. What else?
Fitness trackers, baby monitors, smart locks, and garage door openers. Basically, anything connected to the internet could pose a security risk.
So they're really trying to cover all the bases here. This all sounds great in theory, but is it actually happening?
The good news is, yes, it's actually happening. The FCC is actively implementing the program as we speak.
So when can we expect to see that little cyber trust mark out in the wild?
Well, the initial framework was launched in March 2024. And then there was a 90-day period where they finalized all the security requirements and testing procedures and got feedback from everyone involved.
Got it. So it's still a work in progress, but things are moving along.
Definitely. The Cyber Trust Mark program is going to be constantly evolving.
Right. As technology changes.
Exactly. As new threats pop up, it's going to need to adapt to stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
Well said. But you know, all this talk about new devices makes me wonder what happens to all the devices that are already out there? Are they just going to be left behind?
That's a good question. Yeah. What about everything we already have in our homes? Are they all just automatically considered insecure now?
That's where things get a little trickier. The cyber trust market is really focused on the new devices coming out,
Right?
but there are a couple of ways it could still impact the security of those older devices.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, first of all, I think some manufacturers are going to start releasing updates for their older products to make them more secure.
Yes, to keep up with the new standard, even if those devices don't officially qualify for the CyberRust mark.
Exactly.
Kind of like a trickle-down effect. I like it.
For older devices, consumers can also provide additional layers of protection with home firewalls, secured routers, and wireless access points using WPA3.
True.
And secondly, as consumers become more aware of security, they might start demanding that companies improve the security of the products they already own, right? And so that's something that's fully unknown in the scale of the product information we have in the entire web.
Putting pressure on them. So once again, it comes back to awareness and education, making security a priority for everyone, not just the tech experts.
You got it. That's exactly why this program is so important. It's raising the bar for cybersecurity and giving consumers more control.
I love this. But where should someone go to learn more about the Cyber Trust Mark?
The FCC has a whole website dedicated to the program, and they'll post updates as it develops. We'll include a link in the show notes for this episode.
Perfect. Bookmark that, folks. But for now, let's zoom out a bit and think about what all this means for the future of cybersecurity in general. Do you think the Cyber Trust Mark is just the beginning? Could we see similar programs for other types of products or even services?
That's a really fascinating question, and one I think we'll be thinking about a lot in the next few years.
Why do you say that?
Well, the Cyber Trust Mark essentially takes something super complicated, all that technical security stuff, and makes it easy for everyone to
Understand, make it accessible.
Exactly. And in a world where we're just bombarded with information all the time, clear communication like that is super valuable.
That's a really good point. You're saying that as technology becomes more complex, we need better ways to explain the risks and benefits.
Exactly. And labeling programs like the Cyber Trust Mark could be a really powerful way to do that. Imagine a world where we have these kinds of labels for everything from apps to online services to cars to, well, everything.
Wow, a world where we can instantly see how secure something is. That would be amazing. But wouldn't that require like a massive change in consumer behavior? I mean, most people don't even think about security right now.
That's true, but remember what we said earlier about the power of the market? If people start demanding more transparency about security, companies will have to respond.
So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. We need programs like the Cyber Trust Mark to raise awareness, but we also need consumer demand to drive the creation of these programs in the first place.
You got it. It's a cycle. And the Cyber Trust Mark could be what kickstarts that cycle, pushing everyone to make security a top priority.
Like every technical podcast we do, this one always returns to the importance of awareness and education.
It's true. Knowledge is power, especially in the digital age. The more we know about the tech we use, the better off we'll be.
I love that. But okay, let's get back to the Cyber Trust Mark. We've talked about the big picture stuff, but what about the specifics? Like, what exactly are the standards that these devices will have to meet? Give us the behind the scenes scoop.
So you want to know the secret formula? Unfortunately, the FCC has yet to release all the details. They're still finalizing everything, but we can definitely make some educated guesses.
Okay, hit me. What security hurdles will companies have to clear to earn the Cyber Trust Mark?
Well, I think it's safe to say that we can expect a strong focus on basic security stuff.
Like what?
Things like requiring strong passwords, encrypting data, and having protection against common attacks like malware or phishing.
So the basic stuff that every device should already have. But let's be real, a lot of them don't.
Yep, the Cyber Trust Mark is all about establishing a baseline level of security for every device and protecting it against the most common threats.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about more advanced security features? Things like multi-factor authentication or AI-powered threat detection. Are those on the table?
Oh, absolutely, especially as the program develops and technology changes. But, we need to walk before we can run.
Right, that makes sense.
That's why I think the initial focus is going to be on getting those basics right. Remember the analogy we used earlier about building a house?
Oh, yeah.
You need a strong foundation before you start adding all the fancy features.
Solid analogy. So basic security hygiene is step one, but then the program will likely become more complex and advanced over time.
Exactly. That's what's so exciting about this. It's not static. It's designed to adapt. And which is so important in the world of cybersecurity.
Well, this program really could change the way we buy and use tech in the future. And we're going to dive into those potential impacts in part 2 of this deep dive.
Welcome back to part 2 of our podcast on the U.S. cyber trust mark.
But you know what I think is really interesting about this whole cyber trust mark thing?
What's that?
I think it has the potential to really change the game, like right now.
Yeah,
It feels like cybersecurity is an afterthought for a lot of tech companies.
totally. They just sprinkle it on at the end, add a drop of security and hope for the best.
Exactly. But with this program, security actually becomes like a selling point.
Right. People will be comparing devices based on their security features. I love that.
Yeah. It puts pressure on companies to make security a priority from the very beginning.
Oh, okay. So potentially a win-win for everyone.
I think so.
I like it. But there are always going to be some companies that try to, I don't know, cut corners
Oh, yeah.
or find a way to cheat the system.
Of course. Yeah.
How can we ensure that this cyber trust mark doesn't become another meaningless marketing tool?
That's a great question. And that's why those independent labs, the CyberLABs, are so important. They need to be super tough, really thorough, and completely unbiased.
Right.
And the FCC needs to keep a really close eye on the whole program.
To make sure everyone's playing by the rules.
Exactly. To make sure the standards are actually being enforced.
Okay, so it's like a system of checks and balances. You've got the testing labs, you've got the FCC, and you've even got consumers.
Yeah. I mean, the program is supposed to build consumer trust, right?
Right.
But I think it's important for us as consumers to actually be informed and engaged.
So it's not enough to just blindly trust that something's secure because it has that label on it.
Exactly.
We got to be in the know.
Scan that QR code, read the information, understand it, make a good decision.
Okay. So it's a shared responsibility. We can't just expect the government or the tech companies to fix everything.
Exactly.
We also have a role to play in making things more secure.
We do. And that's actually a perfect segue into what this podcast is all about, which is empowering you, giving you the knowledge you need to navigate all this technology stuff, because it's not just about buying the right gadgets. It's about understanding the whole picture. It's about becoming a more informed participant in this evolving digital world.
I love that. And speaking of getting informed, where can our listeners go if they want to learn more about this whole cyber trustmark program as it develops? Should we all just be refreshing the FCC website every week?
And the FCC would probably love that, but there is no need for it. They've actually created a whole website just for the Cyber Trustmark program.
Awesome.
They'll be posting updates and timelines and everything you need to know.
We'll definitely link to that in the show notes. Everyone should bookmark that page.
Yes, definitely.
So this is going to be interesting to watch unfold.
It is.
But for now, I want to zoom out a bit and discuss what this means for the future of cybersecurity in general. Do you think the cyber trust mark is just the beginning? For example, could we see similar labeling programs for other products?
I think it's definitely possible, and I think it's something we'll be seeing more of in the next few years.
Interesting. What makes you say that?
Think about it.
Okay.
The cyber trust mark simplifies all that confusing technical information.
Yeah.
And that kind of clear communication is so important.
It really is, especially as tech gets more complicated.
Right. We need ways to explain the risks and the benefits to everyone. And labeling programs like this could be a powerful way to do just that.
So are you saying that we could see security labels on like everything from apps to online services to, I don't know, cars?
Could be.
That would be amazing to just like instantly know how secure something is. But, most people don't even think about security right now when they're like buying electronic devices.
That's true. But remember what we said about how powerful the market can be?
Oh, yeah.
If people start demanding more transparency regarding security, companies will have no choice but to listen.
Right. So once again, We need that consumer demand because that's what drives the creation of these programs.
It all comes back to that.
I'm noticing a theme here. Every time we do one of these podcasts, it always seems to come back to education. Yes, awareness and education. So yeah,
It's so important. Knowledge is power, my friend, especially in the digital age.
I love it. That's okay, but let's return to the cyber trust mark for a minute.
Okay.
I'm still curious about the standards these devices have to meet and what the testing process actually looks like.
Ah, I see. You want all the juicy details, huh?
Drop those tea leaves.
Unfortunately, the government has yet to release all of that information. They're still determining all the specifics.
Okay.
But based on what they have said, let's make some more educated guesses.
All right, lay it on me. What kinds of things will these devices have to do to get that cyber trust mark?
Well, I think they're definitely going to focus heavily on basic security hygiene.
Like what? That's too vague. Give me an example.
So things like requiring users to set strong passwords,
Okay, that is expected.
making sure all the data is properly encrypted,
Now, that is something new for IoT devices.
and having protection in place to stop those common cyber attacks. Like the malware and phishing we talked about earlier.
So the foundational things that honestly all devices should already have. But we know that's not always the case.
Unfortunately, no. And that's really what the cyber trust mark is all about. It's about setting that baseline level of security and protecting people from those everyday threats.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about some of those more advanced security features,
Like what?
like multi-factor authentication or AI-powered threat detection?
Oh, I think we'll definitely see those things down the road, especially as the program grows and evolves, right? But right now, I think the main focus is going to be on getting those fundamental things right.
Basic security hygiene is the foundation, but we'll see those more advanced features come into play later.
So the cyber trust mark is really designed to adapt and grow as technology changes. And that brings us to a really interesting question. What kind of impact could this have on consumer behavior and the entire tech industry? And that's exactly what we're going to explore in the final part of this podcast.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the cyber trust mark, everything from the little details to the big picture stuff, like how it could change the whole tech industry.
It's been a pretty deep discussion.
It really has. But now I want to bring it back to the listener, okay? The person who's listening to this right now may be on their commute or at the gym, taking a nightly stroll, or even shopping for their next gadget. So for them, what's the one big takeaway? What's the most important thing to remember?
If I had to pick one thing, I'd say the cyber trust mark will be great for consumers, but it only works if people actually use and believe in it.
I love that. It's not going to automatically fix all of our security problems.
Exactly. We can't just assume everything is secure now and forget about it.
Right.
We still need to do our research and stay informed.
Yes, be careful, make good choices. It's like anything else. You get out what you put in.
Exactly.
If you're willing to spend a few minutes scanning that QR code and learning about a device, you're already way ahead of the game.
You definitely are. Remember, the cyber trust mark is just one part of the overall security picture.
Right.
It's not a replacement for having strong passwords or keeping your software updated.
Yeah. All that stuff. Plus, being aware of scams.
Right. It all matters.
So, it's about being smart and informed about your digital life.
Exactly. Taking responsibility for your own security, not just hoping for the best.
Love it. Okay, so as we wrap up this podcast, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Something to think about.
Okay, I like it. What is it?
Here it is. Do you think this program, the Cyber Trust Mark, will actually lead to a more secure future? Will it really change the way we think about security?
Wow, that's a great question.
Or will it just become like another forgotten label lost in all the marketing noise?
That's a good question. I don't know. Think only time will tell.
Right.
But I am optimistic. I think it has the potential to make a real difference,
I agree with that.
not just for us as consumers, but for the whole tech industry.
Totally.
It's a sign that finally people are taking security seriously.
Yeah.
And that's something to be excited about.
It is. It's a step in the right direction. And if it helps just a few people avoid those, cyber attacks, then it will have been worth it.
Definitely.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to us.
Us.
Yeah. Consumers, manufacturers, policymakers, everyone working together to make the digital world more secure.
I like that.
Next time you shop for a new gadget, look for the cyber trust mark. It's a sign that things are moving in the right direction.
It is. And don't forget to scan that QR code.
Yes. Get informed, stay engaged, and help create the future we all want.
Yes, a secure future we all deserve.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us for today's podcast.
And be sure to tune in next time for another Technically You dip into the world of technology. Until next time.
Bye.